What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Brant, he's doing this with his neck. I'm like making faces while the music was going off, So I think we're all a little bit loony today. We had some rough days here. Brant's a little bit sick. Kat worked all day. I worked all day, and then I worked in the front yard all day. We were talking about sprinklers 2 seconds ago.
It's been one of those days.
Yeah, just every one of those days. Yeah, I had overall, I didn't have a good day. So I had one of my guys that were late to work, and oh man, it was tough. But we're here for you guys. Of course, we're gonna talk about that great comic book news, and
there's actually a big piece.
Yeah, top 5, and then we're gonna talk about this big piece that dropped today, which we usually don't get pretty big news. Like on the day of our show,
right?
Because there's times where we're like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to discuss today? And we never get the big news that drops. So this, I think, in a lot of eyes, is big news. And we will get to that in a little bit. But of course, we're going to talk about the other news and say hi to you guys real quick. So first things first, we want to say hi to Get the Key Comic. And then Brad, yes, we see your comment there. We're going to talk about that after the little bit of news that we do have. We have Steven that says hi as well. And then let's see what else. And then Tevia, of course, he says, what's going on? Nothing much.
No, just Invincible, just news pieces. So we're going to jump into those news pieces. Another big news piece that came out on the media side was that Chris Evans is going to be in Avengers Doomsday. So obviously is Downey Jr. And, I don't know how to feel about it. Everyone's just, the whole nostalgia train, but also the proof of can Marvel go along without your Chris Evans and your Robert Downey Jr.'s. I don't know. I'm curious to see where it's going to end up going and what this means. And, we've seen Chris Evans maybe other places in the past. So who knows what's going to end up happening. But I was more on the negative side of this news piece, but I also just want to see what the movie ends up doing with it. So I don't want to judge until we actually see the movie and what they're actually doing with this thing.
Did you see Deadpool yet, Brent?
I did, and that's I didn't want to. Oh, you watched it? Okay, good. Because I was like, things that happen.
Yeah, I knew exactly what you were referencing.
Okay, there. I didn't want to spoil it just in case.
Did you like it?
Yeah, not as well as I thought I was going to, but yeah, I did. I did enjoy it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little bit more, but I liked what they did with it. I liked the cameos and stuff like that. So, but to that point with Chris Evans, it's like they teased that's who that was, and then it wasn't. It was the other character, and it's like, okay, so now we're getting that fan service anyway. So you can kind of see it coming. But
that's why I was curious too. Like, could it be another Johnny situation? Could it be a different character? Infamous Mike Manhattan says Chris Evans, is that really news? We all knew he was going to return. I mean, yes and no, but did we? Right? Because I hoped it wasn't going to be true.
I mean they don't think he's going to be Captain America. I mean, they think he's because obviously Mackie's going to be the Captain America in this movie because I was reading the article before. So I don't think he is going to be Captain America. I think he's going to be somebody completely different, and who that is, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be old Steve. Who knows? But,
exactly.
I like him as Cap, but I'm ready. Just like the comics had to move on at some point. I like giving Sam Wilson a chance to kind of breathe this Cap for a while.
Yeah, his movie it hasn't even come out yet. And it's like this news comes out. And that's kind of what I'm bringing up. I love Chris Evans. I think he's a great actor. If anyone's going to return, I want to see Chris Evans. But give a chance to the new guys and give a little breathing room is more. And also Young Avengers hasn't come out yet, and they're building up to that. There's so much that you could be doing and not just relying on the old school stuff.
Yeah, maybe he'll be Nomad or something. One of his other monikers over the years.
Yeah, that could be interesting too. I mean, bringing those guys back. I mean, those are the guys that obviously made the money, and then a lot of people are going to go see that movie, right? I mean, the Doomsday movie. They're going to see the Secret Wars movie. Those are the movies that are going to draw that that money again, like an Endgame or Infinity War, because it's got those big people. They may not be what they once were in the original movies, but people are going to want to see, obviously, what they're becoming,
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I agree. So let's move on to our comic news now. So we have Tony Fleeks is going to be on a Thing book. I just thought this was interesting because we're getting him on a Marvel/DC book. I don't think that's happened. If it has, I think maybe he did like a Pet Avengers situation. This is like his first bigger book with the big two. So I've been loving Tony Fleeks stuff. Honestly, anything he's touched, not just like the feral or strange dogs. Like I really liked Uncanny Valley. I've been enjoying that. So yeah, I'm buying this honestly just on the principle of him, which is interesting because I feel like usually it's on the principle of the character, not the writer, the indie writer. So I think that's cool.
Yeah. It's like I was just gonna say I don't usually get into miniseries on the Thing, or any kind of series. It's never been my thing. No pun intended. Never been my thing. I've tried them in the past, and it just never sticks for whatever reason. But because he's writing it, I will definitely try this one out. So because I'm like you, Kat, I'm a fan of his work. So.
We do have a question before. Well, Mike, you talk about the Thing first, and then I'll answer this question because I didn't hear about it.
I read a little bit of the original Thing series when I was a kid, and I do like the Thing character. I like him in the Fantastic Four, so I am curious to see like what Fleeks is going to do with the character and what this miniseries will be. I think it could be a lot of fun, and he's a very talented writer, so I think Marvel needs something like that right now, in my opinion,
And again, with it's someone with his own fan base too. Like it's someone who is coming with the stray dogs and the feral fan base that might go to Marvel and be like, wow, I actually really liked his indie stuff, and maybe they've been gone from Marvel for a long time. So I think that's a perfect person to have. So one of the, and maybe this is a Craven spoiler, I don't know, Craven's not out yet, but people are like, oh, it's just thoughts on the Sonyverse ending. I didn't hear anything about this. I feel like a lot of people say a lot of things, and again, I'm not a big Sony person to be like, whoa, this is it. But yeah, I didn't hear about this. I don't think anything's confirmed. I don't think Sony's like, it's the end of this universe. So, wait and see. I'm guessing it's just people saying Craven sucks. It's the end. And then they'll release another movie. Like, this is actually the end.
Are you going to see this movie right away, Kat, with your subs?
Right away, no, because I have other movies I want to catch up before the end of the year. But I will see this in theaters because it's Spider-Man.
If it lasts that long in theaters, watch it be like a week. This movie could bomb for all you know.
Yeah.
Will bomb. They've moved this movie 20 times. It's not a good, it's probably not going to be a good movie, but I'm hoping it's like in the vein of Madam Web. A couple things. In the vein of Madam Web. That's so bad.
Like, did you like Madam Web?
It was so bad that I enjoyed the experience.
You mean it was so bad it was funny? Like, yeah, exactly.
So I'm hoping that
it was fun.
It's a fun flick, it's a fun I think bad time, but like it's a fun bad movie that you could kind of like watch with your friends. But what I think also is that with January coming, there's not a lot of movies that come out, so I'm hoping it kind of just stays in theaters because of that.
Gotcha.
She, like, turns around in her hoverboard sight.
So Brent, you like the movie
with her, like
in seriousness or
glass?
Not like, hey, this is an awesome movie, but it was just like, it's kind of like I enjoyed Venom. It's like, okay, it's this fun little thing. It's not, the continuity's all over the place, and
we haven't seen
I wish they were costumes more, but yeah, I haven't seen the last Venom.
I haven't seen the Venom. Yeah, I mean, listen, I would say like Madam Web was entertaining. They tried to do some stuff. Right. It was probably like superhero movies are always unbelievable to begin with. Right. People are like, you're critiquing on a superhero movie, right? Like things couldn't happen, but there are things that are so off the wall. Like even for a superhero movie, it's like dumb,
That's again, that's in a good, bad way. That's kind of the fun of it. It's so bad, it's entertaining. And there's like, there's so many movies and superhero movies that are so bad they're boring, and it's just like at least it was a fun ride that you got to sit with. And there's I went to go see Moana 2, and again, no shade for people like Moana, but I thought that was such a boring movie, and I went with my mom. And
I'm seeing that Monday night.
I thought it was pretty bad. I won't give you spoilers, but I went to go see with my mom and my business partner. No, go on.
No, I was just gonna say we're taking my she'll be 5 then, my 5-year-old niece.
I think she'll enjoy it. I think there's an adventure element, but so I went to go see it, and we went to go see it just to like kind of cross off the movie. It's a Disney movie, and me and Phil, we were like, oh man, we really didn't like this movie. It was really boring. And I turned to my mom, who just likes everything Disney and enjoys those movies. I was like, did you like it? And she's like, yeah, I give it like 3 stars. Like, it wasn't the best, but and I was like, why did you give it 3 stars? She's like, well, and she couldn't find anything. She's like, I like her eyebrows. I'm like, that's why you're giving it 3 stars. Like, her outfit looked nice. I'm like, so you like her eyebrows and her outfit looks nice. Do you have anything else you liked about it? And she's like, not really.
Well, I mean, it's a sequel, and it's a sequel to an animated movie. I mean,
it was also supposed to be like a direct-to-TV thing, or not. It was supposed to be a TV show, and you kind of could feel it. And the music wasn't great. Lin-Manuel Miranda didn't return for it. But point being is that's a boring movie. I'm sorry, Brant, but
no, it's
kind of boring movie. Enjoy.
Yeah,
maybe go see Wicked. I don't know.
Go watch Madam Web again.
That was entertaining.
Yeah. We are
going to go watch the CW. That's what it was. What happened?
CW. I said we are going to try to see Wicked. I was talking to.
Yeah, you should.
All the kids are going crazy for that.
Wicked is way better than I'm sure Moana.
But I have to go see Moana.
I think she'll like Wicked when she goes see it, but it is a bit long. But I know all the kids are excited for that one too. And Wicked's a good movie. Gotcha. But going into other comic news here. So for you guys, Transformers issue 16 cover reveals the Decepticons versus the Autobots.
Okay, I was a little confused by this cover. Isn't it, Brant, if I'm wrong, like they're fighting, doesn't it look like that Devastator's fighting Bruticus? And isn't Bruticus evil?
That's what it looks like, yes. So I'm confused by that as well because
that doesn't make any sense.
And the Constructicons are both they're both Decepticon groups.
So it doesn't make sense what they're saying there. So that's why I marked the news piece. I'm like, well, it doesn't make any sense. So to me, like I said this based off of the last issue, is I felt like there's going to be a civil war between the Decepticons with Soundwave versus Starscream and the Combaticons going against the Constructicons. Like one follows one, the other follows the other. So that's what I feel like it is.
You know what it could be? Because I think one of the variant covers, I could be wrong, but it looks like it might be showing the Aerial Bots one. Was it Superion? Is that his name?
Oh, I don't remember.
I wonder if it's a battle of all the what do they call those? The ones,
the combiners.
The combiners. It could be a battle of the combiners. I'm not exactly sure. But just based on that main cover, it leans more to what you're saying is more like a civil war, which they have been building towards. So it could be like Starscream's group versus Soundwave's group.
Yeah.
So
that'd be pretty badass.
Yeah, I would be down for that. But that article title is a little misleading there.
Absolutely. But that's all. I mean, there's not too much to discuss until like the actual books start to come out and the story unfolds there.
Yeah.
So next up we have, I'm going to share a screen so you guys could see it, is Gwen's new costume.
Oh my gosh.
It was so, I remember it was like doing or under the water. I can't quite tell. Yeah. And I feel so, I just don't think they know what to do with Gwen. I really just,
well, she looks miserable too. Look at her face.
Yeah. They just don't know what to do with the character. The design is whatever. I just don't really. I think I'm more baffled by why is she doing this than what I'm seeing. It's just like, does she need to do this?
It says an intergalactic adventure with King Loki. So they're going to space.
And I guess that's with the TVA that they're mixing together. I guess
that makes sense. I don't love that.
No, and I just want to see more of an arc for her. I think they're trying to do it in the main series right now, but it's hard because she doesn't have as many supporting characters. So
Right.
I don't know. I've been very torn on Spider-Gwen.
I like the at least she's got her own like villain right now. You know, it's something. Even if it's without her
It
supporting
is,
cast
but
in
he's
her own
existed
universe
in the
and all
past. Like he
Yeah, I
is a
know,
Spider-Man
but-
villain,
that. Right. Yeah, but
That's
it's like a
funny.
newer version of that character. What's that? Oh yeah, it
She-
does kind of
she
look
looks like
she's cosplaying
Samus.
as-
Never there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
No, I definitely but I agree. Like they are trying to do something with that, and I just feel like they can't pick a lane. It's just like, okay, if you're following that, just do that for a little while.
Right. No, I agree with you. Yeah.
That's
And I
frustrating.
think Spider-Gwen came out this week, so I'm guessing we'll probably
Yeah.
talk about it. So
I haven't read it since like that issue 2, man. I'm just
I don't
still
think you're
reading
missing
it.
much, but I know Grant, you like it
No.
more than me right now.
Me? I
Yeah.
enjoy it. It's not the best one I've read, but it's better than what we had been getting. So.
I still stand by that. I think it's better than what we're getting because it's an ongoing series. But and just to give you what's been going on, Mike, it's been very this street level hero, like Luke Cage is involved, Jessica Jones is there, and like she's like teaming up with Black Tarantula, and she doesn't know he's a villain. So, and there's like somewhat of a romance there too. But she has like meetings with Luke Cage in this issue. I'm like, this feels so out of touch for Gwen. Like, why is she involved with Luke Cage and Jessica Jones on like a mayoral level? Like a political level.
yeah, that's weird. I mean, I don't know. There was no reason for her to come here. She just should have stayed there. She was just been in the universe that she was in with her friends, and hopefully like she'll get to go back. You know?
I just don't think they will, just like Miles. I think they needed them together.
Such a waste.
And the thing is, like, at the beginning, like the first arc was all about this secret mission with the TVA and all that stuff, where she couldn't be in costume and couldn't fight crime, and they just kind of dropped that. It just kind of went.
Yeah, it became a new series. I'm guessing because the TVA series is coming out, which I don't think Stephanie Phillips is writing.
Yeah.
So a whole new writer is writing that.
Right.
Marvel, when it comes to Gwen, just put her in a band, put her in another dimension, put her in the TVA. Heck, put her in space. Honestly, put her anywhere. But honestly, like think about a book like Dazzler and like why that book really works because it's just doing what Dazzler does. She's a singer and there's some X-Men shit going on. Like that's what you want to see from a Dazzler book. From a Spider-Gwen book, you want to see her with her supporting cast and you want to see her try to balance being in a band and being a superhero. That's it.
Now she has no supporting cast, really. I mean,
or band.
This is not her people, and this is not like the way she was designed to be. I feel like she was designed to be in this different universe with that supporting cast. That's what made the character work, and
Similarly, Miss Marvel, they took her out of her supporting cast for a long time and just like threw her in all these different groups and everything, and it kind of diluted the character a little bit. So
that made even less sense because she's in this universe. Like that one, I don't even know why they're doing that. I think maybe to involve them or her with the mutants, but that because of the MCU, I also don't think that's been working. If you want to follow the MCU, have her hanging out with Carol, have her hang out with Monica. That would be a much more interesting book if you don't want her to hang out with her friends. Tevye asks, do people care about the TVA book? I think we have to wait until the book comes out to know that.
I'm not gonna say like I'm excited for it. That's for sure. I mean,
I think it's a much more interesting I think it's a much more interesting concept in the MCU than it is in the comics.
I agree. They're trying to make it work, but maybe not everything in the comics has to be part of the MCU.
Right.
All right, let's get into the next thing here, unless there's more to say. I mean, we can also talk about Spider-Gwen when the book comes out, but cheap DC Comics on the Dollar Tree. So I saw this on Instagram, and then I looked it up to make sure it was like a thing. And I saw it on like Twitter. They showed like in the Dollar Tree, there's like books you get for $1.25, and I'm like, that's a really, really cool way to get people into comics. I'm glad DC has to make initiatives to team up with companies like that, and I'm glad they're doing it because that's how you're going to find new fans. So I wish Marvel would do more stuff like that. Because honestly, I was at the AMC. It had been the AMC for a little while, and I went and I saw all this merch that they're selling now. Like I've been to multiple AMCs. I went to the Wicked, saw it at a different AMC. This AMC that I went to, all now it's like an AMC thing. They're selling merch. They're selling Funkos. I'm like, oh man, it would be really cool if they sell comic books.
Yeah.
I mean,
years ago. Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, no, when it came to the Dollar Tree stuff, it's not the first time like DC Comics has been in other places.
Walmart,
they've been in Walmart. They've been in Five Below. They had one of they were those multi-packs. Is that what you were going to say?
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's the Five Below thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Five Below. And so based off of that tweet or X or whatever the hell you want to call them these days, it shows that it's mostly Rebirth titles. That's what they're showcasing.
Which I honestly think makes sense. I think those are good enough.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. I think it's like you said, you go to a Dollar Tree and a lot of people walk in there and you see a lot of young kids or a younger audience and they're like, oh man, comic books, it's $1. Hey, you never know. That could get you into comics. Just like when I went into like Farmore or whatever it was, and I bought like a pack of Marvel comics when I was a kid and they had Iron Man books in them, so, and that's how I got into Iron Man. So you just never know.
Well, think about you're with your kid shopping, right? And they're like, the kid has been doing chores with you all day. And they're like, I really just want to read the Superman book. And then the parents like, oh, it's $1. Sure. Get the stupid Superman book,
As opposed to going to a specialty shop and it's $5. Sure. And say,
or if you're getting a book, it's $20. Like, it's like, nah, put that down. But $1 is so easy. And honestly, with these floppies, a lot of times Marvel and DC, they're making money because they print it on the cheap. And obviously they could print this on the cheap. But a lot of times these floppies, you're not making that much money anyways. You're waiting for the trade to make money in other places. So it's just like, if you're already not making that much of the bottom line, why not try making the floppies more about advertising than anything?
Yeah. I mean, that's what they really are anyway. Like you said, they're advertising for the trade. They're advertising for merchandise, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yep. So good stuff. I'm glad that's happening. Hope it stays. We are going to go into our main topic. So Invincible's returning. There's a twist, but it's Invincible, but it's a character from Invincible. So Robert Kirkman and Ryan Ottley are returning, which is cool. And this character is from issues 19 to issue 55. It's called Battle Beast, and he was a villain turned supporting character. He was part of that big war, right? I'm pretty sure.
He wasn't. War?
I thought he was in that.
No, he's just a villain that was in the book. It's been so long since I read it.
Well, that's the issue. But it's been since it came out that I read.
And so, but I mean, he was in the TV series as well. Like he made an appearance as well in the show. But this particular story though is going to be about him in between those issues. So between like 19 and 55, there's going to be a story that takes place. So you learn more about the character because he is actually a fan favorite character from the show. And a lot of people like him as in the comics as well. I think his like appearance, like the money for him, I think I haven't checked it recently, but I think the last time it was like a $60 comic book or something like that.
I didn't know he had such a support system because I'm like, who is this again? I don't remember. Because I was like, oh, that's weird that you're not picking like a Monster Girl or like somebody who's a little bit more well known.
Yeah, I mean, he kicks some serious ass. Like in the show, like he just like there is like no stopping this guy. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
I mean, I'll pick it up. I want to see what's going on with it. I think it's interesting to have an Invincible spinoff because if you read Invincible, it ends. And I mean, maybe you could do stuff with the kids and like there's some like time jump stuff you could do, but it's not a book that I feel like can really be picked up again. I don't know if they will. Maybe they're testing waters here, but it is a story that I thought ended pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it did. But listen, regardless of what happens or who's in it, just having Robert Kirkman in it and Ryan Ottley teaming up again, just to kind of touch on this universe, I think is a phenomenal thing. And you're right, Kat. I think this is a test of the waters to see maybe there is something else that they can do in the future. I mean, yes, there is a kind of like a definitive ending when it comes to the series, but you never know when those things like that changes, and then they could bring these characters back for another adventure or something, you know?
Yeah, or tell more stories like this that kind of take place in pockets of, you know, what we've already read, which could be a lot of fun, you know, especially because it's been so long. So
it'll remind us what happened there.
yeah,
And obviously the show's doing that already too, because you like go back and say, oh yeah, that happened and that happened.
I don't even know when is the next season coming on. I totally forgot.
I don't think they've had an announcement because I know season 2 is like, have they?
So at the end of this article, it tells when this book is coming out, which is April 2025, and then it says just weeks after Invincible season 3 ends. So
okay,
it comes out like March or so. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know it's coming back anytime soon. I haven't watched season 2, so I'm a bit behind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's trailers for season 3 out now.
Oh wow, I didn't know it's coming that soon, but that's cool. It's a popular show. Obviously, Skybound. What I do like about them a lot is that they do stuff strategically, marketingly, strategically that sometimes Marvel and DC doesn't do. So I think it's great that they're doing something that obviously I think they know will sell.
There you go.
February. Wow,
February 6th.
Soon.
Nice.
February 6th. Yeah.
Okay. This is interesting. I don't know if you're gonna pull this one up.
Go ahead.
Next one. It's crazy to say I've never read Invincible. Would this be okay to read without having read Invincible? I don't know without reading it, but Invincible is usually a very hard series if you don't start from the beginning.
I think it will probably be new reader friendly if I had my guess on who this character is.
I would think so, just because if it is taking place in between those specific issues, that's when that character debuted as well. So you're going to learn everything about that character. It would enrich, you know, your experience with that character if you'd read him previously. But I think it's going to be new reader friendly, and maybe it'll, you know, entice you to learn more about that world and go pick up the trades for Invincible.
Because I remember for Invincible, that's what I did. Obviously, I didn't read issue 1. Like I remember I read a random book and I'm like, oh, I don't really know what's going on, but this is fun. I'll go back, and that's kind of how I got into Invincible.
Oh, here's Mike Manhattan. I remember this now. So he goes, he fought Thrag to the death, and it was pretty intense.
So he died.
Thrag was wearing his fur on his shoulders, like in later issues.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of in the future stuff. Because I was like, I've seen this before, but where have I seen it? I feel like it was later issues, but it's probably just the robe aspect of it all.
Right. I remember the fur now that you say it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's kind of funny because I don't know if Invincible was nearly as possible until the show wound up making its appearance. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember we all read Invincible and we loved it, but there wasn't I felt like there wasn't a ton of people reading it. Because
it was like us.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it was popular enough to warrant a TV show and all that stuff, but
not as many people read indies back then.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a whole lot of people were talking about it at the very least, and Walking Dead kind of overshadowed it. So.
Right. I wonder if it was because people knew Robert Kirkman did Walking Dead is why they kind of said, hey, let's try to do Invincible TV
For me,
show.
It was the other way around. I got into Walking Dead because I liked Invincible. You know?
Right. I read Walking Dead first. And then I was like, wow, Walking Dead is great. So let me see what else Robert Kirkman makes. And then obviously it was Invincible, Outstanding, Wolfman, and some of the other stuff too. So
I don't know if I connected the two because I read Invincible so long before, and then Walking Dead came out. I'm like, this is a cool zombie show. And then you find out it's Robert Kirkman. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess they're the same person. So I feel like I didn't want to read the Walking Dead comic book. So
gotcha. I didn't read Walking Dead until after the first compendium had come out. That was my introduction, was that whole first compendium. Then I started reading it after that.
I feel like a lot of people got into that. I know I read Not in the comics itself. I read like the first few volumes after the show, but I don't think I ever continued. I don't think.
Yeah,
Maybe I did
Walking
read a
Dead
lot
for
more.
me was before the show even came out. And
Yeah,
so I think they had one or two of the first trades. So like by issue 12 is when I started like maybe reading it or something like that. And I just remember my comic book shop manager's like, "You'll read this, Mike, and you will love it." He's like, "I'll give you your money back."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, fine." And I did. I loved it ever since that issue 6 when Carl shot Shane. I was like, "Hell yeah, Carl." I'm like, "That's freaking crazy, man." I was like, and truly at that point, that's when I like truly discovered like indie comics for me, because
Oh, really?
this is when I first was getting back
Let's go
into
back
comics.
into yeah.
So this was like my first like real intense indie comic. Like when I was a kid, I read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? And that was indie, like the Mirage Studio ones, but I was really young at the time, so I wasn't like, ooh, Big Two, this and that. And then I read like Boris the Bear, and from Dark Horse. But it was always Marvel mainly, and then a little bit of DC. So then when he handed me that trade, I was like, zombies, really? Like, that's freaking cheesy, but I was like, whatever. And I was like, yeah, black and white, that's even worse. So
yeah, black and white. I feel like that was a harder sell back then.
Yeah. And
now people don't care as much.
I just remember being blown away. And I was like, wow, this book got dark, and it's just like, that was pretty much the introduction to like heavy, indie comics, that kind of really poured that emotion and felt like there was like real stakes involved.
Yeah. It was just interesting because I feel like mine was Invincible, and that was such a, Robert Kirkman, such a gateway for people.
Mine was like indie. I mean, I got into like the Image wave and all that stuff, but with Walking Dead, it was very similar though. I had a couple of friends that kept telling me to read this book, and I'm like, it's zombies. I don't like zombies. It's black and white. I'm not gonna read a black and white comic. It's the same kind of stuff. And as soon as I read that, I'm like, man, this is intense. The black and white kind of, gives you an atmospheric kind of thing going on. So it's just, it was definitely a once in a lifetime kind of experience, that one.
We do have a question up here for me and Brant. So Parker Lux says, I know, Mike, your favorite superhero is Spider-Man, yet I'm wondering who are Brant and Kat. So we all our favorite heroes are Spider-Man in that regard. Yes. But if we're taking away Spider-Man, Spider-Girl for me and Kitty Pryde, those are my two big ones.
Yeah, Spider-Man's that character that all three of us bond over. Yeah. It's just like for all three of us, it's been like our favorite, character for so long.
Growing up.
Outside of Spider-Man, man, that's actually really hard. I'm a big Batman fan, obviously.
You like G.I. Joe a lot. I know that's not as much, but that's a big thing for you.
Yeah, G.I. Joe and Transformers. I mean, just G.I. Joe especially is like my hugest kind of fandom from kid on. So yeah, that would be the other thing. But as far as superheroes go, back in the day, I was a big fan of Darkhawk and New Warriors and stuff like that. Now it's like, I don't know, we all three like the kind of the same thing. So
yeah.
That's why we bond over it.
It was Iron Man. If I go away from Spider-Man, old school Iron Man, like at least old school Iron Man for me was like 90s, late 80s.
Yeah.
And then I would say if there's a DC side of things, Kyle Rayner.
Yeah. Back then, when Kyle Rayner and Wally West, I really liked, back in the 90s and stuff. So
yeah, for me, for DC, it was Supergirl, Teen Titans, what's I like from Batgirls, obviously. Stephanie Brown is a huge one for me. I love Stephanie Brown. We also have a comment here. Outcast and Oblivion song were great. I feel like no one was reading Outcast. I read it. I thought there was elements I enjoyed about it, but that was slow burn. Oh. Everyone dropped it.
I dropped it. I couldn't. It was like, again, Kirkman is a slow burn writer. right? He likes to build, but the payoff is always so good. But
Nothing happened there with
Outcast
Outcast.
was
Yeah.
just, there never seemed to be a payoff.
Well, I think the reason being is because the show didn't do as well as he thought it was going to do, and he's like, "Oh, I kind of just got to end this at this point." And I could kind of feel that. I like the characters. I thought, it was always interesting enough for me to continue, but that wasn't one of my favorites. Did you guys finish Oblivion Song? I didn't really continue that one.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't. Yeah.
Outcast, I don't think I made it past issue 1 or 2.
No, you guys dropped off
Yeah.
early on. I remember I'd talk about it
Yeah.
alone or just be like, and I read
think, like,
this.
The big thing for me too is like the artwork was like took me out of the book a lot,
The only thing that took me into the book was the artwork for Outcast. That's the only reason I picked up that one.
Yeah, Oblivion's Song, I'm wanting to say that I held on for a while. I don't remember who dropped it first, you or me, Mike. But
I feel you guys dropped it around the same time.
Yeah, I couldn't remember it, man.
It just it was such a slow burn, that one too, that I kind of lost interest and I couldn't remember who the characters were.
Firepower is also another one that we all love, but it kind of slowed down and then it's like, oh, it just ended okay, and then it was a little bit of a simmer for us. Teviax, what about Jupiter Legacy? I think I read up to the second one and then I kind of stopped.
I thought the first one was good too. And then the second one was all right, but then after that, I don't know. I kind of lost interest for it.
I missed the first one. I don't remember if it was the second or the third. I tried and I got through an issue and I was just so lost because of it. I did like
you missed the first one. I think if you don't read the original series, you're not going to enjoy it. Kind of like it's almost like Mark Miller's like Magic Order. Like for some reason I missed the first like portion of the first volume, and then I hear this. It's really good now, and it's still going on, but I'm not going back.
You read the first volume. I think me and Brant, and I don't think I got to the second volume.
I did read the second volume. I don't think I read past that, and I think it's like on the 5th volume now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the news, all the questions. I think we're going to jump into the comics, which actually for me was an average size week. So I think next week, I'm going to like 20 books again. I have to look, but I'm pretty sure it's a pretty long week. Tomorrow.
It's a pretty, I think I have 18 on my list, but I'm sure there'll be more.
It's a heavy. There's a lot of big books coming out.
I asked my store about Christmas because, like, what are you guys doing about Christmas books? Like, I don't know, but I'm not coming on Christmas.
Well, I think it's going to be an issue. My shop was talking about it with me last week, and obviously they're closed, right? So you're not going to be able to get your books on Wednesday. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe books are even later on Thursday or Friday because. So think about it. A lot of people are closed like Thursday, Friday, or people have off. So there could be additional.
They're off
delays.
Tuesday too.
Yeah. So it might not be till like a Saturday or something by the time we get booked. So, I mean, it could be a rough couple of weeks when it comes to Christmas and New Year's when it comes to your comic books. So if you guys are experiencing delays, that's going to be why. And every shop is going to be different on with their shop because some people get Penguin Random House, some people, get Diamond, some people get Lunar. So there's going to be different things for different shops. And, so yeah, it's going to be tough. So no matter what, you're going to get the minimum your comic on Thursday. But dude, I think honestly, it might be Friday, Saturday.
And back in the day, they used to not release a lot, so it didn't really matter.
Right.
But now they release a lot, and it's just like, oh man, like especially for us, like I want to read my comics, I want to get my reviews out, and I'm not going to do that on Christmas, obviously. But Thursday, I'm like, oh yeah, I would want to read my comics and get my reviews out. So. I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. But back in the day, it used to be like, here's 2 books. Let's talk about this one big Marvel book or the one big DC book.
Yeah. While we're talking about this real quick, just a reminder that next week we will be on, but the next 2 weeks are Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, so we will not have shows this week.
Yeah.
No reality.
I honestly might take like 2 weeks off YouTube even, and just maybe do some like basic old school reviews or something like
Yeah.
that, just because the schedule is going to be all screwed up. And so,
Right.
wait till things get back to normal and yeah, get back in it, which is kind of perfect timing. I got family coming to visit, so I don't get to see them all that often. So it might work out for the better,
No, exactly. So that makes sense.
All right, so here we go, guys. We're going to talk about those top 5 comic books of the week, and obviously the big books of the week, or maybe not so big, but just worth mentioning here. Where are we going to start? This is some 3 good ones here. But let's talk about a book that's, I'm surprised Kat didn't even give Venom a try, but let's talk about
I'm
a book
so gone and lost from Venom. I felt like if I read it, I would be so lost. I feel like there's so much continuity with Venom in the past 2 years.
It was kind of new reader friendly though. But
yeah, kind of was.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was more like down to earth. It kind of was like, it was a little bit better than just than Space Venom, but we'll get to it. Let's talk about
the last thing I would say about that. The reason I thought it wasn't going to be new reader friendly either, because it's the same writer, so he's just going to pick up from where he was.
I understand. Yeah, for sure.
But here's a book all 3 of us read. So Absolute Superman issue 2. I like this issue better than issue 1. It touched a little bit more on everything, and it touched on more of the characters in here. It's similar to like Absolute Wonder Woman, because Absolute Wonder Woman like introduced Steve Trevor, and this one introduced more of Lois Lane. So that was kind of cool. But you got to see more of like the power set on what Superman can actually do, which is actually different in this world, which was interesting. But I liked how Lois like hates writing in this comic. And so, but she wants to do the report on Superman to make sure it's done right. And you get to see like Brainiac in this world, how he's like controlling things behind the scenes. And I feel like the person that was like giving orders, I thought was Perry. That's what I got out of it. When he was telling her to write the report. Now it doesn't say it. I just led to believe that that's who it was,
Gotcha.
But it was kind of cool just seeing kind of like how
I thought it was her dad at the end, but that was what I thought.
What's that?
I thought it was her dad at the end.
That would make sense.
Oh, that could have been. Yeah, that could make sense. Yeah. But it did a good job. I like seeing how intrigued with Superman she was, like, on kind of like
that was very familiar. Yeah,
her getting who he was. You know what I'm saying, and trying to convince everybody. So I thought that was cool. And then like me personally, like I like the Krypton stuff because we don't always touch on it, and we get to see like Crypto there, and we wind up getting to see the mom and dad kind of converse with each other on what they need to do to, keep him safe, keep themselves safe, and try to convince everybody. So I thought overall it was a really good issue.
Yeah, no, I liked issue 1 a little bit more, but I like the Lois stuff a lot here. I'm curious to see what the next issue is going to be, though. I think I think Batman, it's very obvious what issue by issue it's going to sell us on. I don't know if Absolute Wonder Woman or this series has sold me on that yet, but I like it. I thought it was a good issue. Great art. I think the dark art really fits for this series, and I've been enjoying the Absolute line overall. I like all 3.
I like the changes that they made to him too, and he's using tech, to enhance like his own abilities and that kind of. So it gives a different vibe. But again, you have those same connections, the same virtues, the same overall mission, even though his perspective is completely different and all that stuff. So, and then Lois also, curious like she, is in the main universe and everything, coming from a different place, but the result is very similar. So I love the way that's kind of coming together. So I too like this issue a little bit better than the first issue, and I still like this book better than the Wonder Woman book. So, but we'll see.
They're both equal. I just think Batman for me is like skyrocket higher than both books. It's not even comparable.
Me too. I agree with you 100% on Batman, and Wonder Woman for me is like, I don't know, man. It for me, I don't like the art as much. I don't like she's just fighting basically like gigantic kaiju monsters. Like, it's just like, I'm not sure what this book is really going for at the moment. Like, we know who Wonder Woman is and where she comes from, but like, what's the point of the book right now? Right.
Right.
So I don't know.
The character stuff is fine, but it's that stuff that, I agree with you. That I'm just like, I don't know.
So we'll see. Okay. So let's talk about Brant and I's Nightclub book, Nightclub 2, issue 4. It's another rough issue, man. Just like kind of like what would happen when the bad guys have the vampire power, right?
Yeah. And it's like they're underling bad guys too. So they're like, we want more power, right? That's what they did in this issue, is they kind of took over. And then you have her on her own, but the cliffhanger, man, she's going to try to resurrect them.
How do you do
I don't
that?
know.
They're like done. They're like fried up and
I know,
just completely dead. Like, how do you even do that? Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. So I don't know. I just like seeing them like destroy like the gang leader and have him thrown in a pit with monkeys and all this other stuff.
I forgot about the zoo.
So it's crazy, man. And then you got Kendra, who's messing with Amy, you know, and then they're messing with the grandfather as well, telling him that he's dead. And it's just like, oh my gosh, dude. It's like,
it's messed up.
It is. It really is. And it's another good book, though, man. Another good issue.
Yeah, I just if I mean, it's a mini series, right? So there should only be like one issue left, maybe two. I don't remember how many issues.
What was that? 4?
4. So
probably 6.
Yeah, it could be 6. Yeah, his usually are 6, aren't they?
I think so.
Yeah, so it could be 6. Maybe it's even 8. I don't know, but I'm very curious to see how this one's going to wrap up now, because we're at a point where like the heroes are not just kind of down, but they're like out, you know. So it's like there's no hope.
They're literally dead, and so it's like I don't know, man. I don't know. So we shall see. All right, so then let's move on to All New Venom issue 1. So the reason why we feel like you could pick this up is because it just takes place basically in a courtroom. It starts off this way, and Madame Mask is on trial, and I think it's because it was because of the gang war, right? Is that
the
what
gang
it was?
War stuff?
Yeah. So if you read Gang War, then you would have totally got that aspect of it, and then you just go into your 4 suspects of who could be the new Venom, and they start you off. Suspect number 1, Luke Cage. Suspect number 2, what is it, Robert? And then Robertson. Number 3, Rick Jones. Like, why the fuck Rick Jones? But I don't know. Number 4, who's number 4? Madame Mask, right? And so then you get these AIM agents that come in and want to capture her, and then all hell breaks loose. You see these 4 people disappear. You see Venom come up. And then the next thing you wind up seeing is that you don't know still who this Venom is. It's not revealed.
Yeah.
Right? So
I heard they didn't reveal who they were.
They don't reveal it. So it's kind of like, okay, so they have this mystery. So I think that's kind of cool that they didn't reveal it. Kind of keeps you guessing. And I like how it's not spoiled either, so it keeps the mystery there. And I think personally, I said this on my review on Worthy Ones, I said that those 4 are a distraction because fucking Paul is Venom. Because
Paul is in the book.
Paul is in the book.
So is Mary Jane.
And Mary Jane.
And it's just and it's
so Paul's Venom, that's gonna be something.
Yeah. Well, listen, and so Dylan, Eddie Brock's son, is also in there. They're acting as guardians, right? So
they're acting as guardians for Dylan, and they kind of, I love that they kind of told us upright it's not Dylan, because Dylan's like, I got to find out who's got my symbiote. So you scratch him off the list, which I like, you know. So there's no contemplation about it being him. So
right.
But Mary Jane, and all the suspects, they like gave them like a little bio kind of thing saying what they do, who they are in the story, suspect number one, etc. With Mary Jane's, it said Mary Jane or Jackpot psychic. And that's like, oh no, please don't let it be Paul. But
right?
Paul was in there.
And Paul was wearing a yellow shirt over his
Maybe, let's
regular
hope
I
he's
hope
the
it's
red
not
herring.
Paul.
I'm telling you,
Yeah,
dude,
maybe.
if it's Paul though, it gives him a purpose. And then what happens if he becomes
He dies.
he becomes obsessed with power, and then Mary Jane like gets PTSD because it's Venom, and she has to kill him.
Because he was trying to talk about the Venom stuff, and Mary Jane was like, "Don't talk about. I can't deal with this. I just can't. I can't.
I
go
mean,
there."
that is a connection. Yeah. That's something. Yeah. It's a story.
It is, and like you said, Mike, with the mystery aspect of it, that like pulled me in even more because all four of them had reasons not to be in the room. Like Madame Mask just disappeared, Luke Cage just kicked out of a window, etc. And then when they came back in, at least the three of them, not Madame Mask, but Rick and the others, they were like, I think it's you. No, it's you. You know, it's that kind of thing. They were like kind of pointing fingers a little bit. So not that cheesy, but no, it was really well written. I like the way it all came together. I don't know. It was much more enjoyable than I ever thought it was going to be. Because I was like you, Kat. I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I thought it was going to be more of the same. I thought it was going to be, you had to know a lot of stuff from previous, and
you didn't.
So.
Yeah, and I hope it's not Rick Rapp. That would piss me off.
No, that would be a lot worse.
Listen.
Oh, that would be so much worse.
Why? I'm just thinking here. I'm just like, why would it be Luke Cage? Why would it be Rick Jones? Like, where the hell has Rick Jones been?
I can see maybe Madame Mask because she was involved in the beginning of that gang war. I don't remember where she ended up. But
symbiote go to it. Like, where were these people? And it's just gonna go right to them for some random. I'm sure once we get the reveal, we'll get that story on why.
Yeah.
Right. So,
but is Paul gonna sell this book? That's the only. I genuinely think even Venom fans are like, I don't want to read this.
If it's Paul, it better be like the beginning of the end of Paul.
Yeah.
Like the lead to his death type of thing.
Sure.
And I would love if this shit got dark. Yeah. And again, Mary Jane was forced
like Paul
to take down Paul.
Yeah, because I mean, she's got such a convoluted history with Venom, no matter who the bearer is. So that would be fitting. That would be a fitting way to end it too.
Yeah.
You'll have to keep me updated. Maybe I will pick up issue 2 if it's a small week. It does sound interesting. So maybe
that would be the book I would write. So I mean, I would. I don't know if Marvel will do it, but we'll see. I guess time will tell. But at least they have people talking and keeping it a mystery, and that's what I like. And hopefully they won't reveal it before it comes out, because then that kind of ruins it. You don't see that too much in comics these days. Oh, look who the new person is. And you're like, dude, I didn't even read the issue yet. Like, it didn't even come out yet, Yeah. And they tell you this stuff.
Right.
All right. So with that being said, let's go to our number 5. So Kat, what's your number 5?
Mine was actually Birds of Prey issue 16. I thought this is a stronger issue than we've been getting from the series. It's Cassandra is trapped, and we're not trapped, not purposely trapped, but she's like on a mission. The Birds of Prey are worried about her. She ends up becoming this berserker character at the end. I thought the artwork was stronger. I just thought it was a solid enough issue, and again, much better than what we've been getting.
I think I like the last issue a little bit better. I didn't love her turn into that, whatever thing, but I do. Yeah, I do think this is a stronger arc so far. Just more interesting, I think, and they're instead of like traveling through different universes trying to find back Barbara, this her kind of going undercover and all that. It just
feels more character driven too. It feels more like a group of team members doing something. Right. So it's more of what you want from a Birds of Prey book.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. What's yours, Brent?
Well, it's not Birds of Prey, but it is Batgirl, issue number 2. Okay. So it's the same character at the center of it. I don't know why. This is like one of the first books I read, so I know that it just continued that story, and we got a little bit more information on why
There's a
they're
lot more
after
like,
them.
so I like this issue better than the first issue by far.
Yeah, it was a little stronger
because you got introduced to like Cassandra's like family outside of the Bat family, right?
I like them a lot, actually. I thought
Right,
they
and
added a much
they will
stronger
stop
layer.
at nothing to protect
Exactly.
her. So I thought that was actually really cool, right? And then having a sit down and discussing that, oh yes, you have a fine daughter, she's a great person, like all that stuff, and then you get introduced to kind of like this the unburied clan about this flower and the powers that these people got. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then they got the shit beat out of them, and then they wound up trying to catch this train out of town, and Cassandra Cain was like in concussion protocol or whatever. She had no idea what the hell is going on, but it was cool, man. I thought it was a good book, much better this time around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like you said, I was going to say all that stuff that, and thank you for jogging my memory. All the stuff like revealing, you know, the plot, basically revealing who the villains were, their purpose, and all that stuff. And like you said, that supporting cast for this thing, that older lady, it was an older lady, right? I really liked her too.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
And I think, well, I was just gonna say, I think this is very different than other Batgirl books, and I think that's something DC has needed. It's just like we've gotten a lot of the Barbara Gordon books for the past like 15 years, honestly. And the Batgirls book, it was fun to see their friendship, but you know, I feel like it just started finding its groove like in issue 30 something. And then this one, it just feels different. You know, I've been enjoying it. It's good. I'm curious to see where it's gonna go. I want to love this book. I want to be like, this is a 5-star series, and it's not just there, but I'm liking it. I do like it.
Right. Yeah. Same. All right, Mike.
All right. Sorry, I was just typing somebody back.
No, it's okay. I was just curious what your number 5 was.
My number 5 was actually X-Men, right? Yeah, X-Men issue 8. So
that's
this
my number 6.
So is it? Yeah, this is part 1 of 4 of the new like crossover story between Uncanny and X-Men, which is kind of cool because we used to get to see these types of stories back in the day when X-Men and Uncanny would cross over. Now, this is not like this huge overarching event. It's 4 issues. It's a little story that brings this new era of X-Men together, which I really like because it makes them, it just brings them together. You know what I'm saying? Makes you feel like they all know each other instead of like all separated. So it was kind of cool. And you wind up getting to see, what's her name? Calico winds up, it's captured. She's in jail. You wind up seeing Beast, who wind up getting captured. He's in the jail with her, which is kind of cool. You wind up getting to see the Uncanny X-Men break in. You wind up seeing Cyclops break in. Cyclops is like, I'm not losing Hank once again. I lost. Are they gonna fight each other? Yeah, I thought it was a really good book. And I'm interested to see now the direction of this as well. We're getting the Dr. Ellis character more involved. So I think things are starting to pick up finally now when it comes to the series.
I agree. You go on.
Go ahead, Kat. No, I'll go.
I was just gonna say that I think that I wasn't sure if it was gonna be too soon for a crossover, and I actually think this was a perfect timing for a crossover, and it made me more excited for X-Men. Like you said, Mike, this has been one on my should I drop this list. I don't even think I picked up the last issue because I knew this was coming in, and I was like, I haven't been enjoying it, and then I picked this up. I'm like, oh, you know, at least it feels connected. I like seeing the Uncanny, like that student. Like I know that you've been on the fence for seeing the new students, but I thought they used the blonde girl pretty well in this issue. So I like the ending. I think it'll be a fun little crossover.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say about her character in particular. I like the character work there with her, you know, kind of owning her mutant heritage,
which just happened last issue. That's pretty new revelation.
And she was given basically a get out of jail free card with that. Yeah, exactly. And she's just like, no. And when they close in and you see the tears rolling down her face as she's saying, I'm a mutant and all that. It pulled on the heartstrings a lot this issue. And you had plenty of action, plenty of drama, a lot of character work there. And like you said, it made sense for them to cross over at this point because you just wrapped up an arc in Uncanny and you're focusing on the kids and they're tied into this. X-Men were just digging into what happened with Magneto and all that stuff, and this goes, so it's perfect timing, and it was a really solid issue.
Sweet, very good. All right, so speaking of X-Men, we just talked about it. So next, let's talk about Kat's book here. I'm sure this is her number one pick. This
Snotty
is
Lottie.
Girl. This is issue 15. So I read this book. I bought it. I read it. I was completely
Were you
lost.
lost? I was gonna say, like, they did not. That
Like
was not a
the
new reader-friendly book.
characters, they didn't. I mean, listen, I will not deny that this is a well-written story. Like, you can tell there's a lot of thought in the characters. They have great expressions. You can feel the love, the passion.
There's a lot of not said too. There's a lot. It's really great writing in the regard of like they're saying something about society without having to say it, which I think is very good about this book.
You know, there's a lot of love and passion between two characters in this book. You can feel that in this issue, and it's not a bad book, but it's just not a book for me. You know what I'm saying? And it also just didn't do a great job at kind of reintroducing readers that may have read this a long time ago, or possibly new readers. And like, because they continue it with an issue, I think 16, right? And it's kind of like, oh shit, maybe this should have been like volume 2, issue 1, and somehow, you know, get people on board with this. But
I think the problem is I don't know what the goal for this book is. It really does seem like a passion project. It doesn't seem like they want to do anything with it. It doesn't seem like they want new readers, because they're like, we have the readers we want. They're not trying to market it. They waited 4 years to release it. I think genuinely they're just like, we want to finish the story that we told for probably themselves, honestly. Maybe it's for the fans, but I think it's more of like, we want to finish the story, and that's kind of it. And that's the vibe I got for this issue too, where it's like, it was far from new reader friendly. But as a fan, I remembered everything. I remember because I really love this book. It's one of my favorite comics overall ever. I think it's such a great book about, and honestly, you kind of forget it until you read it again, where it's the idea of just how you perceive yourself through the age of social media. Like, how do you present yourself? The mask you wear, fake friendships, whatever. And that's really, and to give you, Mike, maybe you remember this, maybe you don't, from what I said last week. That girl she's with is a bad person. Like, they show this romance, but she's not a good person. She's a horrible person. And it's really interesting to see their romance here, where Lottie's like, oh, it's kind of fun to fall in love with this girl because it's weird. She usually doesn't say she's usually a horrible person.
Like, she has this sprained ankle, and she comforts her for this entire time, and they have this loving relationship. And then it's just like they're at this lunch, and then like Lottie's mom comes, and she's like all paranoid, and so they go to the
you see how the girlfriend fucked her over though, because she's like, she obviously doesn't want to tell her mom. She's like,
no, and she was like, and she was like, hey, she's like, I'm her girlfriend, and you're like, oh dang. But then you're just like, but then she squeezes her hand, and you're like, well, did she do it to screw her over, or did she do it to try to do her a favor by saying, hey, it's gonna screw her over? But it's like, who is she to tell her mom that they're in a relationship? It should be up to her to tell, right? And the mom kind of took it like a champ. She took a big breath, and she's like, okay, well, why don't you guys come on over for dinner or whatever it is? And then that's kind of.
But see, I'm curious about the next issue, because again, the book is very much about wearing a mask. I think she's like, yeah, why not come to dinner? But I don't think it's out of like love. I genuinely think she's gonna fuck someone up in the next issue, and she's gonna show she's a bad person, because that is what this book's about. It's about how like presenting, oh, they're actually a good person, then you realize they're not good people, or there's other things happening.
So I think as an element, when you have those two main characters, the book works. But with all the other fucking people that were in that book, I'm like,
you don't like
who the heck are all these people, dude? I was like, who are all these people? There's this one girl that's like all popular, and she's got like new friends this time, and I guess
her name is Normie Meg. Mike, you gotta know her name is Normie Meg.
I mean, it was just so wild. It was crazy.
No, they introduced so many characters.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's funny to me that of all the books we're talking about tonight, this is the one that gets all the F-bombs.
We have to talk
That's
about
hilarious.
Snot Girl, but
No,
it's
fine,
such a it's such a good book. I love it, but yeah, it's not new reader friendly. It's for nobody except the people reading it. But I'm glad you gave it a chance, Mike. I'm glad you see that's a good book. And
Yeah,
I do hope.
it's what I do. You know, I'm not going to discredit a book, and I'm not going to say the book is bad because it's not my personal preference. I can tell that the book is well written, well constructed, nice artwork. It's just not for me, you know?
Yeah, and I'm also curious to see how long it goes because that's something I really I like. Obviously, I want the series to last forever, but I also don't want another hiatus. I kind of, if it's, I want it to end. Honestly, I just want to be like, what is the end of this book?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I just kind of want to know what happens. But no, I love it. I think it's great, and that it just reminded me why I love that series and why I thought every issue was, pick of the week. We'll see if it ends up a pick of the week, but
See what
I
happens.
actually did pick it up. I didn't get through it all. I ran out of time, so that's why I didn't mark it. I read right up until they got to brunch, lunch, whatever it was, and we're talking about the girl that used to be your friends with their new friend group.
Yeah,
So
that's the toughest part of the book, in my
left
opinion.
off.
Right
Yeah,
there.
gotcha.
Yeah.
That's a lot of continuity, that girl.
Yeah.
So just to give you a little bit, she was a normie, which means like she had nothing going on for her. Like she was just that friend that's just like, oh man, you're boring. And then she ends up with this hot guy or the ex-boyfriend, I think is Snotty Lottie, and they get married and someone dies at their like party. And that's what they're talking about. There's a death, and that's like what they're keeping. So yeah, that whole part. Yeah, there's a lot of continuity.
You know what I was
like?
You know what I was confused on? What was the guy with the binoculars spying
He's a cop.
on?
He's a cop. He's a detective who's finding out because there's a death that happened. I think twice. I think there's 2 deaths. That there's a murder that's surrounding all of them. So he's a cop that's like investigating it.
Yeah,
he was like,
this is definitely not a book you want to drop in on just randomly.
Yeah, he was like working out or something like that, and he's like spying on him. Like
he's also a fashion designer. They talk about it in this issue that he quit being a cop and he wants to do fashion.
Oh man, yeah. There's a lot.
But he was a detective.
Gotcha. What I will say from the very little that I read, I agree that it's very well written. The character work is really strong. The art is really nice. But I was so lost that
Yeah.
What I really like about this. Yeah. Go on, Brent.
No, I was just gonna say I don't know. With everything else I read, I'm gonna go back and read the previous issues of Snot Girl to catch up or whatever.
No, it's a lot, and I think what I personally like about it is more about the social commentary it has. So if you enjoy stuff like that, if there's like themes, like bigger themes, read the book, but also like maybe wait until it's over. Maybe don't pick up issue 16 and maybe like read the trades. If you read volume 2, you'll see my name on it because I did a review for IGN back in the day, and actually my quote with my name is on it, so you can check that out.
Awesome. All right, so let's move on to number 4.
No, I think we have to talk about Batman. I don't think we talked about Batman.
Oh, my bad, Batman. Okay, so Batman.
Okay. I didn't like this book at all.
I liked it.
I didn't like it.
I did like it. I liked
seeing Jim Gordon as a baddie. I don't know if I enjoy him being
he's not a baddie,
he's hiding stuff. He's hiding things for his girl.
Yeah, but
who cares, dude? He needs some every once in a while. Let him hook up with the
girl. I care that he's trying to skip on the law a little bit because of her.
Well, I mean, the law in Gotham hasn't really treated him all that well. So
I just thought a little out of character for him.
He felt bad for her. They were just having stuff in common. He saved her life, right? By being captured or whatever. And she reacted, and I felt like she made the first move. And then he went in, and that's it, man. The affair started. But he's not a killer. You find out at the end,
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be a complete good guy, but and also because the whole issue is Jim, there's not a lot of Batman. Also, Batman had a brother last issue that's just not mentioned in this issue.
No, he was mentioned.
No, he was mentioned.
Which part?
Yeah.
Where?
It was mentioned when he went to that some kind of gathering or something.
Does she show up in the issue?
No. He went
to
up on his property, remember? And they beat Bruce
the property.
Yeah.
They beat him up, but he placed a tracker on him so he could.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm literally looking at it now.
Stuff. Yeah. So that was definitely, they didn't drop it. It was there. It was
And
very brief, but it was there.
And I do like how Batman like kind of just had that epiphany at the very end when like the alarm was going off when he was talking to Jim Gordon because he was trying to prove his innocence. And then you find out that, hey, the Riddler's not a good guy here. He's the one that put that little device in the glasses to make Jim actually shoot the mayor. So that was
feel
quite
like this is more of a detective book though than a Batman book. So I felt like this felt like a detective comics book more than a Batman book. You don't care because just
Batman's Batman. I mean, that's just what he is.
I don't know. I like that there's different little,
mystery
plots going on here. Yeah, different mysteries. You got the mystery of the brother, mystery of the new superhero. You got this murder mystery now going on, and it just feels like it's all piling up on Batman. He's being pulled in different directions. I kind of like that, and I like that you're taking a character with Gordon, and you're not just doing the same old thing with him. You progress the character. Now he's like doing this new life. Now he's found a love, and now he gets caught up in all this mess and stuff, and it adds tension between him and Batman. I'm really kind of enjoying that story.
Do you like it more than what Zdarsky was doing?
Actually, yeah, I do.
I do. For sure.
I mean, I'll continue reading. It's not, I still haven't felt an interest to it, but I am curious about the brothers storyline. So that's what would make me want to continue.
To me, I feel like it's more grounded than what we've been
getting.
So
I mean, he didn't go to space, so
and his no robotic arms and shit. So but I think it's good. And Zdarsky's not going to be on the book very much longer. I mean,
he might return, but probably not because he's going back to Marvel. No, but I know we're having the Hush series, and I'm guessing that's buying them time to figure out who will be the new Batman writer.
I think they're starting it over. I think they're starting it over. There was a rumor.
There's a rumor. I don't think that's been announced.
I don't. Yeah, it's a rumor. It's not announced, but
that Superman's also starting over. There's another
Superman. Book. So I don't know. I'm sure once the initial, writers will come out, I guess that's when you'll find out for sure. Dan Slott's coming on Superman. Did you hear that? Like he's writing a story for Superman. Yes.
No, I didn't hear that.
Yes.
That's cool though. I think he's a big Superman fan. He's going to be on Superman. So
I don't know if he's in action or in Superman itself.
Oh, it's rumored. That's why. Okay. It hasn't been confirmed yet.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I didn't hear about that.
Gotcha.
So there's a couple of things going on that's like, we'll see.
Well, they're shuffling. They have to. Literally, Batman didn't have editors. Like they didn't have a main editor for a while. So I'm guessing they're just kind of getting shuffling things into place.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about number 4. So, Brant, I'm going to start with you. Number 4.
Mine was Absolute Superman. So we already talked about it.
That's mine too.
Mine was X-Men. We already talked about it.
All right. That was quick.
Oh, that was quick. Yeah.
All right. So then we're going to move on to Ultimates.
Got to hear about your Ultimates.
Issue 7, because we already talked about Batgirl issue 2. Ultimates was a solid issue in my opinion. I thought it was kind of dealing with the aftermath of how these people kind of mourn the 1-year anniversary of what has happened, and also dealing with the whole Iron Lad situation. And then you find out that what happens to Iron Lad. Like, he did not die, but he's now more like his father, Tony Stark, than ever, because now he's got an arc reactor in his chest, and he's like recovering like in an iron lung type of situation, or like a hyperbolic chamber or something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
he's in a tank.
Yeah, really cool. And then you got introduced to America Chavez in this one too. So
they're really mixing it up with the characters.
Yeah, she's cool, man. She looks awesome in this book.
She's got more control over her powers than we've seen in previous versions of her, and she was all together and really cool. So I like this version of her. and she could be a strong addition to this overall cast. But yeah, it was definitely taking a step back from the intensity of last issue and just kind of everybody getting their bearings and figuring out where they fit and all this and how they're going to survive this and combat this and all this stuff. So it was a needed kind of breather, but it still continued the plot forward. So
yeah, exactly,
solid issue,
definitely. All right, so let's see. Now we talked about. I think now we're going to number 3. My number 3 was Batman. So we just talked about that one. And Kat, what was yours?
Mine was Batgirl. So we talked about it.
All right, Brant.
Mine was Ultimates. So
One of those weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, we got two. Right. We got 2 more. We got 2 books that we haven't talked about yet.
All right, so we have Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Volume 2, Issue 27. Did you read it, Brent?
I forgot to get it. Yeah, I had marked it because I thought, well, surely I'm gonna, read this, and then I was like, oh, I don't have it. So I've got to go back and get it.
I'll just be quick. It's nothing big. It's just a continuation of his trials and tribulations of dealing with this vampirism, and we feel like Black Panther is the one that's going to help exile this. So if he faces these trials, that maybe he'll get rid of it. And he's wearing this suit at the same time. Kind of dumb, boring, nothing.
Right.
He's going to eventually get rid of it. We all know that. So we're just getting to the point where Deadpool comes back, Miles gets back to the normal, and then they cross over. That's what we're getting.
So it's kind of like this transitional story.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. So nothing special there.
Right.
Okay. So then JSA number 2 is the only book that I didn't get a chance to read yet this week. So how was it, guys?
It was okay. There wasn't anything that crazy that happened. I mean, it wasn't bad. What are you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I was a little confused. I was a little lost because from what I remember in issue 1, there was a lot of characters, but I thought the teams were fractured because one team was stuck in the Tower of Fate, and the other team were battling or going on missions or whatever. And now they were all together and going in and out of the tower, and I was really confused as to how they came together. What when things were taking place at
timeline, because I just saw. I thought 1 week ago, so I think there's maybe was a flashback.
I might have missed that. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, no, it wasn't like an obvious one because I also was a little confused by that. And then also you have like the Injustice Society.
Right.
They're in there. There's just a lot going on, and not as much character development as I thought the first issue did because you introduced some of the players a little bit more. Here it's just like, oh, Jesse talks for a second. Here's Obsidian. Here, it just was a lot. Yeah. And then the Hawk people have a big thing in the end where I think Carter gets shot or killed,
stabbed with a sword or a light sword or some kind of thing like that. Yeah.
He gets shot. He gets stabbed by his sword. He got his head chopped off. He got,
all of it.
By a few It's like describing all these different ways of death.
Yeah,
all of it.
It was very few character moments. Yeah, it was a lot of action, a lot of running.
Okay, look at this. He gets stabbed by a sword that looks like a laser. So
it looks like he's been shot. Yeah, absolutely. So, makes sense.
So, you didn't miss anything. And the art wasn't very strong either. And it's Jeff Lemire though, because I'm curious what he's going to build to it. But I
listen, with all the characters in that book, I can honestly understand any writer having a tough time juggling that. That's a lot. Well,
especially because it's a book with a big cult fan base that it's hard to explain to other people, and that's always been what's hard about JSA. It's for a select few people, and it's hard to explain them outside of that. The only person who's ever been able to do it is Jeff Johns.
The funny thing that ties into that is I finally watched Shazam 2 the other night, and the cutscene at the end where like they come invite him to join the group, and he's like, Justice League, all right. And they're like, no, Justice Society. He's like, what? No.
He's like, what's that?
That's funny. All right. So that was that. And we talked about Spider-Gwen. So
I think we just didn't talk about
Two-Face. We missed Two-Face, yeah.
Oh, did we? Oh, I went past it on the dock. So, yeah.
Two-Face is interesting because I like Two-Face as a villain a lot, and I think his voice is really interesting here. But I'm also like, I don't know if maybe I'll get another one. There wasn't anything that was like, wow, I need that next issue. But like, I liked it. I had a fun time with it.
That's exactly my feelings towards it. It's like I thought it was well written. I like, that he's basically done the Hulk thing where he's buried that other persona within him. So I like that a lot. But at the same time, it's like, am I going to remember to pick up issue 2? Is it, that memorable? It was a good story. It was well written, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
This is one of those books that suffers because there's so many other books.
Sure.
Yeah.
And books that are expensive.
Not doing anything big either.
You're going to want to pick up those other books that are maybe more popular, right?
Exactly.
And not that this book was a bad book. I actually thought it was decent too. But it's, again, if I have to make a cut, it's going to be that title,
Right.
And that's kind of the unfortunate thing here. Now, this would be a decent story if you threw in a back of an issue, right?
Yes.
And that,
or as a one shot, honestly, I think this would have sold
Yeah.
a lot better to me if it was just a one and done. It was like, oh, I don't have to pick up the next issue. But that was one story.
true. That's true.
That's
Or
true.
make it a little bit longer, right? And do that. I mean, but it was interesting to see him kind of do his thing and do the struggle with the coin and his personalities. And
I actually
stuff.
like the courtroom scene. Like I enjoyed him talking to whatever his face is.
Yeah,
like,
it was intense, and I like how he was like proving this dude's innocence here. And I thought it was kind of cool.
It's kind of funny. The first 2 books I read were Two-Face and All New Venom. They were both court cases.
A lot of court cases.
I did the same thing. I read Venom first, and then I read Two-Face. I'm like, did I make a mistake here? Because courtroom books are not my favorite books,
Right.
But they were both
Maybe
both
just
pretty
She-Hulk.
interesting.
Yeah.
So okay, so now I think we're at number 1, right?
All right, number 2.
2. Yeah.
Oh, 2. Okay.
We got all mixed up. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll just do
Okay.
2.
So what was your number 2, Brant?
Batman. So we talked about it.
Okay. Kat?
Mine's Absolute Superman. We talked about it.
Mine was Nightclub. We talked about it.
Nice.
Let's see if the number ones we all talked about.
All right. Number 1 for Kat was Snot Girl.
Yeah, of course.
Yep. Number 1 for Brant. Do I take a guess?
It's number
Am I going to say Venom?
Yep.
Okay. And then for me, it was the Ultimates.
Okay.
I figured.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I struggled with Venom being in my top 5. I was like, it was good, but I felt that X-Men had just more emotion to it. It felt like it was a much more heavier story. Like it meant something, Yeah.
And I agree with you. It was the surprise of, liking Venom as well as I did, and adding the mystery element. When you add mystery into something, it makes it better for me immediately. So, yeah.
Totally get it. So that's why I was like, but it's sometimes it's hard. I thought there were some really decent books this week, and that was mine. And it's kind of funny how in a lot of ways though our books at the end of the day were very similar.
Yeah, I feel like it was one of those weeks too where there wasn't anything that came out, so it was just a lot of mid-tier books that came out this week. So I think that's kind of why that happened too.
Yep, absolutely. All right.
Which I think there's bigger books.
There is.
There's a few. Yeah, there's a handful of bigger ones for sure.
No.
All right, Brant, we're going to pass it to you now. It's most anticipated.
Yeah, so let's do that. So, a lot of repeats through our list, and I try to throw in a different one just so we can. I took one from both of you and then threw in a different one. So, because I think we're all excited about most of the books on this list, but I'll start with.
Well, even one that you guys had, I was like, oh, that probably would have been my number 4. So.
Right. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about too. Yeah. We'll start with your number 3, Mike. Green Lantern number 18.
Oh yeah, man. This book is just wild right now. I mean, there is so much that's going on between Kyle Rayner, between becoming White Lantern again. You got freaking Sinestro, who is a Red Lantern. You got Carol, who's in this book, and we 2 issues ago we saw her entity make an appearance. Theros, which is that bad guy who he thought was killed, is not killed. He's something else at this point too. The spectrum's like, of course, all over the place. There's just like so much going on, where I felt like the last issue could have been, decompressed into like maybe 2 issues, because there was not much going on. And so you can see that he's got a story to tell for sure. And it'll be interesting once, the Green Lantern Corps story comes out, how those 2 things spread out too.
Yeah. I'm really curious how that's going to, balance things out if we focus on like the core in that book and get back to basics with Hal and Carol maybe.
Absolutely.
The main series. So, all right. Another one that almost made my list too, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is the prequel to the animated series.
That's mostly why I'm really curious about it, because I want to know what this show's about. We have literally no information about it, at least from what I've seen. So I'm like, I just kind of want to know what this show is about. So I'm curious. And Christos Gage, I think, writes for the show. I think he's involved with the show.
Is he?
I think so. Let me.
I know he's written animated stuff before, so that would make sense.
Friendly Neighborhood.
While you're looking that up, I love the look of him. Like I know it's like traditional, but like just the design of like his school clothes with the mask, it looks cool.
And I love the design.
In the description of the book, it says like, do not, there's going to be twists and turns. It's not going to be like this predictable comic. So I kind of like that aspect of it as well.
He is not doing the show, but he did do like all those video games. So he was a writer for the Spider-Man video games, which I did remember. And I'm pretty sure he did the tie-ins of those books.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
When they came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he did a lot of stuff regarding Spider-Man, regardless.
Oh, yeah,
like,
in general.
He wrote a lot of issues with Dan Slott when it came to Superior and the normal Amazing Spider-Man book as well.
I liked his stuff when anytime he teamed up with. I thought the issues were even better when he was teaming up with Dan Slott. Like he kind of like gave Dan a lane a little bit more sometimes, where he's like, like he likes doing some explosive things. I feel like when Christos Gage was there, he like leaned in a little bit more to the character stuff.
Yeah, I could totally see that for sure. Yeah, so I'm excited about this one. So hopefully it'll give us some insight into the series. We'll jump to my number 2. I'll say my number 3. Uncanny X-Men number 7. We were just talking about X-Men earlier, so now I'm really curious to see the uncanny side of this kind of crossover. And we left on interesting notes, so I'm just curious to see how that plays out now with the X-Men facing off.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about your number 2, Kat, which is Laura Kinney Wolverine.
I'm surprised you guys didn't have this on your list, but also we tried diversified. But I mean, obviously I like Laura. I don't know if this is gonna be the strongest run in the world. I genuinely don't know, but I'm excited to see more Laura.
Who's writing it again?
Your series. It's Erica Schultz.
Erica Schultz.
On the Elektra series. Like she's a solid writer.
Yeah.
I know they're like crossing over soon too.
Yeah. Did she write the last mini where it was like her, interacting with the people that made her, basically the people that cloned her?
She could have. I don't remember.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
I don't remember if she wrote it.
To me, that wasn't that great. That one. So
I don't really remember it very well. So
yeah, I don't know. I know there. I think something I read said some threads from that are explored in this one, but I don't know if it's the same kind of story or not. But
sure.
I'm just excited to have her. She's kind of been missing a little bit. We've seen her here and there, but not very much. So I'm kind of excited for her to hit the spotlight.
Hopefully Gabby's in it.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. we had her in Krakoa, but it wasn't like the normal role that she would play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. The other version of her, like we saw the older version of her more than this one. I got to change it. I'm sorry.
I like that you have a second headset.
Yeah.
Always in reserve.
I would not be It would not be pleasant if I didn't. So, these things, I gotta get new ones. Anyway, so yeah, just excited about that. So
Great, Christmas is around the corner, Brent.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what to ask Santa.
It's on my list. Yeah, for sure. All right, so we'll talk about my number 1 and Mike's number 2, which is Ultimate Universe 1 Year In, which I think is the title you were alluding to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just curious what they're gonna tease.
Exactly.
They're gonna tease Ultimate Wolverine. That's what.
They are.
Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah. So, but I think it's gonna be kind of like what you learned in the past year about the Ultimate Universe, and I'm sure there's going to be a few things to come when it comes to it as well. So there's going to probably be a little bit of everything. And I know, again, the Ultimate Wolverine thing is going to be a big deal, and there's a variant cover that has the character on there. So, if you're a spec buyer, I have the feeling like there's going to be a lot of people going after that book. I just know it. And I guarantee you my shop is going to have people waiting outside the door tomorrow, waiting to get that book.
Yeah. I'm curious if it's going to attempt to like tie the books together more, or maybe it's going to point towards some kind of, longer game kind of crossover kind of thing, or what's going to happen. I don't know what to expect with it, but I'm definitely intrigued. And I obviously, I've been enjoying Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimates, so I just for that alone, and Ultimate Wolverine, I'm down for this one. So, all right, so that leaves. All right, we'll talk about Transformers number 15, which is Mike's number 1. Obviously, the precursor to whatever we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got that. It's now going back to Soundwave and seeing what he has planned to destroy the Autobots, basically.
Yeah.
And then I think like Wheeljack has discovered something also.
Yeah, there's some kind of mystery they're chasing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like Wheeljack is the smart guy. He's the one that always like would create or make new Autobots. So I think it has to do with that as well. So we'll see. I'm definitely excited. You got Jorge Corona that is back on the artwork now on this this story arc. So can never not be excited for a new issue.
Always a good read. And then our final book, my number 3, cast number 1, is a Superwoman special. We finally learn how she gets the powers, how long she's going to have the powers, and all that good stuff. So,
I mean, just for the mystery being revealed.
My opinion is I think she gets it because of absolute power. I mean,
that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Like you notice how some people got powers that weren't expecting to get powers. I think she is one of those people that winds up getting them.
And even if it is just a simple answer like that, I think Joshua Williamson's going to write it in a really great emotional way. And that's also why this is number 1. Because again, I think any other writer, we've seen Lois as this before, and it's never really been that interesting. But I think Williamson has done a really good job at like bringing character work along the way, always having really good artists attached to it. So that's what excites me more than anything. Because again, this is definitely a story we've seen many times, not just in Superman, but other books. But I'm liking how he's doing it.
Right. I agree. I just hope by revealing the mystery, it doesn't make it less interesting and going forward.
True.
So, but we'll see. I'm excited about it though. But that is it. That's all our most anticipated.
And reminder, guys, for next week, it is our last show for 2 weeks because holidays. So we'll be back in January. Yeah, last show of the year. Be back in January. Next week, we're probably going to talk about like what we're expecting for 2025. If you want to prepare your lists of books you're excited for, that's what we're going to be doing next week.
That's it. Wrapping up another year, man. Another one in the books, right?
Yep.
So that's it, guys. That's all we have for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Make sure you like this live stream on your way out. It's very easy to do. And then make sure you subscribe to our channels, Cat Comic Uno, Comic Book Corner 2.0, and Brant's channel at Only Good Comics. And of course, guys, don't forget to hit the like on all of those channels as well, and the bell so you don't miss the notifications from us. And of course, guys, thank you for watching. Have a happy new comic book day, and we will see you guys all next week. Take care, everyone.